I think the number one piece of advice I have for a 19-year-old is always patience. I think for a lot of us here, most of us, not everybody, there's some youngsters in the crowd, but we've all been there. And I think the impatience so many of us have at 19 tends to be the detrimental aspect of our personality. I think there's way too much wanting it now, which then leads to very short-term behavior. And I always say to a lot of my friends, I'm like, look, there's a very big difference between being rich and being wealthy if we're talking about money within the context of the business. And really, normally it's predicated on people that are thinking in a 20 or 30 year window versus people that are thinking in a 20 or 30 minute window. And so I've been very concerned, and a lot of you have seen this from me because you're not here if you don't know some of my spiel. I've been pushing very hard against these 22 and 23-year-old business and life coaches who are on Instagram selling a bullshit lifestyle and trying to get people into their mastermind and fucking $800 ebooks. And the reason so many of you 19-year-olds, the market, are falling for it is because you want it now. I can only speak from the advice, I can only give advice that I took myself. I built a business from $3 to $60 million, and more specifically from $3 to $25 million in a 3-year window as a kid. And building a business from 3 to 25, and it's yours, to then also pay myself at that time still $40,000 a year is me eating my own dog food. I was patient. I was putting every one of those dollars back into the business because I knew that it wasn't over at 26 or 28 or 32. So many of you, as you build something, are extracting dollars out so you can buy things like dumb fucking watches and like a car and just dumb shit instead of putting that money back into the business because you're building something long term. So my number one piece of advice at 19 is one, patience. I'm still patient and I'm old, I'm 40. And I'm old, maybe not to some of you, but I mean, do you remember when you were 19? I thought people died at 40. So I think patience, I think you need to understand that you're not entitled to shit. I think a lot of people at a younger age have this fascination, and not millennials, when us 40-year-olds were 19, when us 60-year-olds were 19, there's an entitlement early on because the market hasn't punched you in the mouth yet, right? And so people think that, and especially right now, just because you start a business doesn't mean you're entitled to winning, right? It's insanity. Everybody thinks you just get to say you're an entrepreneur and then good shit happens. I mean, the data's against you. 98% of you are gonna fail hard and go work for the man. That's right, the market says fuck you 98 out of 100 times. So why all of a sudden, because there was a Social Network, the movie, and because Shark Tank and Lions Den and all this shit, everybody thinks anybody can do it. So patience, betting on your strengths, figure out who the fuck you are, right? Listen, learn, and let me promise you two things. There's no 9-week process to make money, right? There's no 7-figure expert that's gonna show you the way. It's hard work.
How do you then find your center?
I feel centered, man. I think it depends what one cares about, right? So for example, I wish we really deeply knew each other, because if you lived in my brain, you would be flabbergasted by how much money I leave on the table. If my CFO was sitting here, it's so insane how people that are closer to me, who actually have access, like when D-Rock was a fan and wanted to make a video versus D-Rock today who has access, right? D-Rock likes me so much more because he knows the truths behind your question, right? I can't worry about it because I know it ebbs and flows, right? Like there was an early time in Web 2.0 where I really had it. At South by, I was one of 2 or 3 people. Then I decided I needed to build another business to have the audacity to talk to people about business, so I got quiet. If you think about it, for me, between 11 to 14, right? Then I was like, wait a minute, like I think I really learned a lot. Let me go into a Q&A show, because when I was doing keynotes, my Q&A part was where people really liked it. And instead of me saying that I want to talk about social networks or this stuff, let's see what they want, right? So, listen, I know the biggest speaker in personal brands too. I have not made my money in that environment. When you go list everybody you're about to list, I've made way more of my money building actual businesses. I mean, if my CFO or if my accountant were here, they hate that I do this. They're like, you build businesses. Vayner's gone from 4 to 100 million in revenue. You will make more money in a month if you don't stop speaking, stop writing books, stop doing this. I don't want to, I like this. I do this more out of the vanity of, I like the interaction and I like the feeling it feels to be loved like this because my mom loved me so much. Again, it's very important to me. The other big speakers don't have businesses that are built to make money not off that audience. I don't want anything from you. It's a big deal, right? It's a big point. Everybody else you're about to name, they want his money. I don't. Every 3 years, I say, can you buy something for 18 bucks? Right? And even then, if he doesn't, do you know what it feels like to answer emails at 3 in the morning all day, engage, put out the content, I know you do, and then when you start promoting for 5 or 6 weeks an $18 book, not a $25,000 a year mastermind, not an $800 ebook, but an $18 book, and then somebody comments like, Garyvee, you're a little much on promotion. I'm like, really? And then I get crazy because I'm crazy, and I'll click that person and I'll go look, and this fucker's paying some guy $10,000 to be his coach, who's a loser. Got it? So, and I appreciate you, and the reason I wanted to jam was in dialogue, when we get to that punchline, it becomes important. And I appreciate you giving kind of that feedback of, for me to be all about me for them, the right move is then to take money from them. That's the move that you're referring to in that like speaker world. That's what they try to do. They try to monetize their audience. I'm not, right? I'm looking for legacy. I'm looking for legacy. I want their emails in 9 years. That's what gets me off. I've made a lot of money. You know, I've made a lot of money already. Like, money is not driving me. I'm gonna get that. I did that before I came onto the scene. I'll get that when I'm quiet, right? Like, I like the interaction, I like the legacy, I like the feeling, I like people liking me. I've got that vanity, for sure. But don't let that vanity confuse that I'm trying to do something wrong and take the dollars, and that's a different thing. And so the reason I never worry about, well, it's all about, of course it's all about me, and it's equally all about you. And I think that the way people consume me is a reflection of where they're at with themselves, and that's how I use it to navigate. I think you're all excited up front of like, I'm gonna differentiate myself by being 13, and then you're like, but some clients don't like it. Of course, you're 13. Like literally Andy has like sneakers older than you, right? I mean like, this is unbelievable. And your composure and your charisma on the video, you're gonna be very successful. I have a funny feeling at whatever you decide to do. The same way when I met Dunk. We met in a hotel room. I'm like, you're coming to America. Like some young kids just have it. You know, I could tell way more because I spent more time with him to know that he did have it. I'm not sure about you. That's a good first impression for me getting on this show at all. But here's the reality, my friend. You're gonna learn this at 13, you're gonna learn this at 16, you're gonna learn this at 19, you're gonna learn this at 27, you're gonna learn it at 40. How old are you?
53.
You look great. You're gonna learn it at 53. As I'm sure you know what I'm about to say is true. You gotta take the good with the bad. Yeah. You gotta take the good with the bad. For everybody who's gonna give you notoriety or write an article about you or actually use you because you're 13, there's gonna be people that don't. For everybody that loves that I keep it real and authentic, there's plenty of people that don't want to work with me because I curse or because I push against the traditional systems.
Not in social media marketing world.
Did they like it?
Yeah.
Yes, they did, you're right. But the punchline's very simple, which is this, Teddy, like, you need to be you. Don't hide that you're 13 because you think you'll make more money. You're 13, and if you've got real talent, that's gonna serve you extremely well. And so I think the reality is, how would I play it? By just being you and doing your thing and not dwelling on the negatives and not getting too big-headed about the positives. Don't get too upset when somebody cancels an order when they found out you were 13, and don't think you're hot shit just because somebody wrote some cool Business Insider headline that says 13-year-old stuns with his graphical design skills.